Welcome to the Unknown Options, the place where we explore the unknown options. My name is Will, and today I have with me Dr. Taylor. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Dr. Taylor.
Hey, thank you, Will, for having me, first off, and having this amazing platform. I'm super excited to be here. Like Will said, I'm Dr. Taylor D. I am a multi-passionate educator, and I essentially have two businesses. One is called Right Now Education, where I do coaching, content, and development in the industry of education. And I also have a preschool and an after-school program called Wonder Academy. So yeah, all things education define me, all things entrepreneurship in education. And I really love creating content for children. So you can see.
Gotcha. First, thank you for that intro. And I know you hit a little bit on entrepreneurship, but I guess if you go a little bit more in depth, what to you is educational entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so really good question. I like to define it as being an edupreneur. Right, which is kind of like a newer term, if you will. Anybody in the industry knows what that is, but essentially it's a person that's interested in education, but they also want to dabble into business, whether that be part-time or full-time. I like to say it's an
I like that. I like learning new words too. Okay. What this, I think this is kind of like self-explanatory, but we got to hear your answer. Why is educational entrepreneurship important, and what does it contribute to general society or the general public?
Yeah. Well, I'm totally biased, right? Obviously, I'm going to be saying that it's the most important thing in the world. And I truly believe that, of course, because I work in it and I do business in education, but also because education is essentially the foundation of all things, right? Anytime that you work in any industry, it starts with you learning about that industry, whether it be formally or informally. So I just find education to be the foundation in every single, facet of avenue.
Yeah, I like that. That makes sense. And obviously, we see the doctor in front of your name. We obviously want to know about your journey in becoming this phenomenal educational entrepreneur. Could you tell us your path and how you developed from high school to college, so I guess those advanced degrees, and how you became an educational entrepreneur?
Yeah, really, really good questions. So I think I have to take it back to childhood, right? So I was definitely that kid that was, reading books to the invisible stuff, to the invisible kids and to the stuffed animals. I always knew that teaching was something that I was fond of. I really started, I guess, that journey with looking at my kindergarten and first grade teacher and just falling in love with how she, taught in the classroom and how she would read books. And I was just so into that. So I would go home and instead of playing normal things, I would play teacher. And I really just got into that. As a child, I always said I wanted to be a teacher and a singer because I also grew up singing. Of course, started in church. And then started to sing for different, weddings and opportunities and at different gigs and parties and things of that sort. And that all just kind of followed me throughout my childhood. Teaching and singing was a huge thing. And then once it was time to go to college, I went to undergrad and at that time majored in elementary education. And so from that, I realized that teaching in the classroom I absolutely loved, but it was still a piece of creativity that I was missing because I grew up, like I said, singing and dancing and doing all these creative things. And so after about 4 or 5 years in the classroom, I then decided that I wanted to transition from teaching in the classroom into entrepreneurship. And I just took the leap of faith. I literally just didn't say that I was returning the following year. I didn't sign my teaching contract, or I signed my contract that I wasn't returning, and really just kind of figured it out, which was a super risky way to do it. But I figured that if I took the leap, I would then be forced to figure it out. And that was kind of my journey into leaping from the classroom and my aspirations of being a teacher into entrepreneurship.
That's a good story. I think a lot of teachers will be tuning into this episode and hopefully getting some faith and some hope from you and their journey. I guess I think I know the answer to this question already. I'm skipping the question. Do you think do you think educational entrepreneurship will grow, or do you think it will slow down in the future, educational entrepreneurship? I know you're focused on content creation too. I know that's probably pretty big for you. So yeah, I guess you give your viewpoint on that.
Yeah. So I think definitely it will continue to grow. I think it's important for more people to transition into utilizing their talents and their gifts in education. I really like to pride on the fact that as educators, I like to promote we can be more than one thing, right? Like sometimes we go into teaching thinking, oh, I'm going to work in the classroom and that's it, which is great. We need amazing teachers in the classroom. And I never left the industry because I did not like it. I left because I felt like I was being called to essentially a bigger classroom. So I always want to say that. But as far as it growing, I definitely think it'll continue to grow. And I think as the world becomes more and more innovative and as technology continues to advance and things of that sort, it's going to be a need for it, to be honest. And whoever's willing to be risky and dabble into educational entrepreneurship in any capacity will definitely find success.
I like that answer. And I really like when you said you had a call to a bigger classroom. And like you said, technology is growing. What do you, or how do you see the future of education? Do you see like people sitting in classrooms? I know when I graduated from college a few years back, it was pretty much virtual. It was like right before COVID. But how do you see the future of education, and how does that tie into like educational entrepreneurship?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be. I think education is going to become more and more focused, and what I mean by that is, I think in earlier stages of education, students are going to have the opportunity to kind of choose a path and be educated in that particular area. I don't think that teachers, like physical teachers, are going to go away. A lot of people are like, oh, we're going to just start learning virtually. I think teachers are still very necessary. Physical teachers in classrooms, that's something that can't be replaced. But I do believe that it's going to become more niche focused and, just helping students to earlier in their journey define what they want to do. I do believe that that's going to continue to happen. And I see it happening already. Even in some high schools, you can choose very specific things that you want to focus in and dual enrollment and things of that sort. I think all that's going to continue. And then as far as the entrepreneurial portion of it, I think whatever an educator's, expertise is, there's going to be a lot more opportunity for them to teach specifically that particular piece of expertise, if that makes sense. Because so many people want to know what they want to know. And I think as things become more focused, it's going to open up more doors for those people that have, specific expertise to have more.
That's a wonderful answer. That is a really good answer. Okay. I guess now that we know what educational entrepreneurship is, could you, I know your days probably are like different every day, but could you try to give us maybe one of the, I guess your day to day in being an educational entrepreneurship,
right.
And then maybe detailed the evolution. I know we were talking before we started about how your second business evolved from your first business. And I guess just show the progression of those two businesses since you started.
Right. Yeah. So I think that was kind of like two questions in one. So I'll take the latter question. So going back to the journey, when I left the public school classroom, I knew that I still wanted to do something in education, but I wasn't exactly sure what that was. And so innately, I basically took the things that I was already into and just figured out a way to put those together and monetize them. So I really at that time loved music, like I always have. Movement. I was actually an aerobic instructor. So I would go and teach at the public school, and then I would go home and go to the gym, and I would teach different aerobic class, like group aerobics. So I really loved movement and just all things fitness. So music, movement, and then I really loved reading, literacy. And so I literally took those three things and bought a school bus. And I know this story is going to turn left very quickly, but I literally bought a school bus, converted the bus, and I did, it was called Tumble Bus South Charlotte. And I put this curriculum together and all these classes. And I went from school to school and was basically like, hey, I'm this teacher that left the classroom and I teach these three things. Can I bring your students on to my program? And I had clients preschools, elementary schools mostly. And that's kind of how that started. And from that, I say all that to say that from that, I started to get more opportunities beyond the bus, right? That was my start, and it was very random start, but I knew I had to do something. So beyond that bus, people started to be like, oh, well, can you help our teachers to be more engaging like you are with the kids on the bus? And oh my gosh, we love the songs that you're making up, like when you're singing with the kids on the bus, when you're doing different little lessons with them. So all of that just kind of like, the universe started to speak to me, right? About like, hey, you're good at these things. So how about you figure out a way to monetize them on another scale? And that's literally what happened. And just opportunity after opportunity just started to land in my lap. And then fast forward almost 4 years later, I opened up a preschool and after school program. So that was kind of the journey in a nutshell. That's summing it up.
That's a good journey. Like the bus part was definitely interesting. That's crazy. I wonder how like the people took it, like the teachers, or I guess like, I mean, I don't know who you talk to, like get like the kids on it, but like that seems like an interesting conversation to have, like talking about to get on the bus.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, it was very random. I can't even lie. Like, even it's still like to think back to that's how I started. Sometimes it's still boggling in my head because I'm just like, what? Like, but you know what's funny is I'm going to tell you where it rooted from. So I'm a woman of faith, okay? And so I remember when I started to have the feelings that I was being called to something else. I remember it was 2017 November, and I prayed and I was like, okay, if I'm supposed to do something else, Lord, please send me a vehicle for income. Not knowing that he was literally going to send a school bus that I was going to use as a converted bus to teach classes. So I just tell that story because that was literally my prayer. And from that, he answered it in a very random way. So when I got on that bus, I didn't even know how to drive a bus. First of all, let's start there. So my dad taught me how to drive a school bus in like 2 weeks because he drives like big equipment for his business, and took the bus on the road. You don't have to have a CDL because I didn't have passengers, right? I would pull up, the kids would get on, and then they would get right back off. We would stay parked, obviously, in the parking lot. And honestly, people would I would be getting gas at the gas station, and they'd be like, what is this? The news station would come and like interview me, like, what are you doing? And it was so random, but from that, it brought attention, and again, it brought opportunity. So I think that was just the vehicle of income that I prayed for God to lead me to the next space of life.
They say the Lord works in mysterious ways, right? Yes, that's good though. That's like a good like beginning story of like your entrepreneurship journey. And I know you said your dad, he drove like I guess heavy machinery, heavy equipment for his business. Did his background in entrepreneurship like kind of like did he raise you to be an entrepreneur, you think, or is that something you kind of like evolved on your own?
Yeah, that's a really good question. All the questions are so good, Will. So I think, I get that question a lot, and I think the answer is yes, but I like to back it up with like, never was there a conversation where I like, my dad sat me down and was like, hey, when you grow up, you need to become an entrepreneur, make your own, like, it was never that. It was almost like it was taught to me through actions, like through seeing hard work, through seeing, determination and like never stopping. Like my dad was a worker. It still is. He still works like all the time. I think just witnessing that and seeing that, but then also seeing what hard work can produce, subliminally probably was already innately within me when I didn't even necessarily realize it. But I think it was almost hidden because I always said I wanted to be a teacher and a singer, right? So it's kind of like you don't really attach business to those two things as a young child, right? So I think I just went with the path that made sense, not knowing that eventually that would come out of me because it was something that I witnessed every single
And day. I think you made a good point there. You were saying how like singing, they don't attach like business to it. That could be like one of like the features of education is like really like mixing those two. Like how can you benefit from being a singer or like teaching people about contracts, music contracts, or like I know in some schools, in some high schools, in some city, I was looking on Twitter, they're actually teaching music production classes to like producers. So it's like interesting concept. It's like I guess kids are going to grow up a lot different than how we grew up in the future,
right.
and go into like I guess childhood. If you were a younger you, maybe like imagine 18, like Taylor 18, just graduated high school. And I mean, maybe growing up in this world, not the world, because the world is ever changing, the one that you grew up in. Would you do anything differently?
Would I do anything differently? I don't think so. To be honest, I really don't. I honestly, when I think back over my journey so far, it's like every piece, just every brick made sense. And I sometimes in that journey though, I didn't necessarily know that it would make sense. But, in hindsight, every experience makes sense for what I'm doing now and also where I still want to go, right? Because I still have big dreams and visions for my life and what I think I'm here to do. And so I don't think I would change anything. I think I'm appreciative of every space, the good and the bad.
That's good. That's yeah. I would change a lot of things in my past, but that's a good answer, though. I mean, that means you're comfortable and you're satisfied with where you're at, and you have a lot of room to grow. So now we're entered into the not so speed round. I call it that because it's a speed round, but it's like the questions people don't answer them fast. That's called not so speed round. It's 4 questions and you can just answer however you want. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to, obviously. But the first question is, what does a world look like without educational entrepreneurship?
What does the world look like without educational entrepreneurship? I think that it will be a world without innovation. I think educational entrepreneurship is vital to the continuation of what's required to keep up with our, all the new age technology and all of the new age things. I think there would be no more innovation. I think that's my answer.
I like it. And I agree. I think that's true. I would say next question is, are you underpaid or overpaid as an educational entrepreneur?
So overall, we all know that the big umbrella over education is that all teachers are underpaid, right? So I still stand and stick by that. But I think with a lot of work that I get to do now, I'm more fulfilled in a sense that I get to kind of work on those types of issues and be more of an advocate for education with some of the opportunities that I get. And of course, yes, as an entrepreneur, I do exceed or, make more than I did when I was a classroom teacher, right? But I think just like any educator, what has not changed about me, regardless of the levels and things of that sort, is when you're a true educator and you're genuine about teaching and education, you don't go into it for the money anyway, right? So I think that's still, that's still my
I like that. That's a good answer. Great answer. Name one person, book, or event that changed the trajectory of your life, and then why?
Wow. Book, or event.
Damn,
can I
you can.
What?
You can.
Okay, so person for sure. I think I got to give it to a couple of people. So definitely my parents. I have a really supportive family, really excellent parents. Going back to my dad, my grandparents, even just being hard workers and entrepreneurs. I think that played an indirect role into who I am. But also I want to give a shout out to, I have a mentor named Dr. Kimberly P. Johnson. And I remember being in college and wanting to work this summer experience. And I got put in contact with her, not knowing that she was a children's author. And I also had those aspirations. And now I have a few books and I have many more books that I want to write. But I met this lady at a time in my life when I had a dream, and she literally pulled out in this interaction where I didn't even know this conversation was going to be had. In an interaction where I was trying to get a summer camp position, she reaches underneath her desk and pulls up 20 something books. And I'm like, oh, great, you got books. That's awesome. But they were her books. And when I seen her name on all of them, it was just a moment. So I guess that's kind of the event too, right? It was a moment where I was like, yo, this is totally possible. I'm sitting across from a person that's locally, amazing, that has all these books. So that was really kind of game changing for me because it made me know that it was possible. And a couple years after that, she went on to allow me to write my first book with her. So that also was just really huge. So I think those are my 3 answers to those. Shout
out to her.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I always owe it to her. That lady really opened up my eyes to possibility. Sometimes all you have to do is put yourself around the right people, and they will expose you to the fact that what you're dreaming about can truly be an instant possibility.
I agree. And that's it's all the old head entrepreneurs, they always say, get a mentor and it'll speed your journey up. So yeah.
Yes. seriously. It's so true. I am a testament of that 100%.
The last question is, how would someone become an educational entrepreneur? Someone that doesn't have a degree and someone that does have a degree, if possible. Like if it's not possible, then it's not possible. But
right. So I think in the space of entrepreneurship, obviously anybody can start a business, right? We live in a very free world. I think in education, though, specifically, you're taken more seriously when you have the credibility to stand on whatever you're doing. With me now having a doctorate, I think that I've like the door open to so many more opportunities because people take me more seriously with the things I have to share or what I have to say. So I think it's a possibility for you to become an educator entrepreneur, but for you to truly be an educator while doing it, you definitely need some education.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, this was an awesome interview. We love. Yeah.
Hey, is it over?
Yeah, we had 21 minutes. It was perfect timing, honestly, perfect timing. But we good. No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. Do you have any like social media that you want to like kind of shout out for the people if they want to connect with you about education entrepreneurship that they can reach out to you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So definitely I have a new page I recently started to kind of separate from my personal on Instagram. It's at Dr. Taylor D with 3 underscores. That's where you can find all things multi-passionate educator with Dr. Taylor D. I also have a kids YouTube channel. It's called Taylor D Kids TV. So all things Taylor D with 2 E's, Kids TV on YouTube. And those are my 2 platforms there. I'm also on Facebook, Taylor D, just Taylor D. So thank you, Will.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming on and really breaking down another, I guess, facet of entrepreneurship that a lot of people haven't heard about. I haven't really heard about it, even though like, I guess this will kind of be the same category, but I didn't know like it was like that subset. So this is a great informative interview. I think a lot of people are going to learn from it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's just exposure, right? And that's what I love about what you're doing. Because it's like you're exposing people to the unknown, right? That's what this is, the unknown. I think that's so powerful. And I just wish you so much success with this platform because it's something that's going to open up doors for so many people simply because they are then exposed to something that they weren't. So that's really powerful.
That's the goal, just to get people to like you said, like see career paths, entrepreneurship journeys that they never experienced. The goal of this interview would be like a couple of teachers that are kind of locked in their job. They think they don't have the hope. They can say, hey, Dr. Taylor, she knows what she's doing. Let me reach out. let me start my new journey.
Yeah, so sure. Absolutely. And that's what I do. I would love to talk to anybody. drtaylord.com. You can find it all there. For sure. I mean, I think it's, again, I like to just share that everybody was put here on earth to do something, right? But essentially, whatever that something is, always know that you are more than just that. You can do whatever you feel like it is within you and whatever's speaking to you. So you're more than one thing. And especially that message for educators, you are more than one thing. Do what it is in you to do. That's just what I hope. Sound
like Sunday, somebody preaching. We appreciate you coming again. Everybody, please comment, like, and subscribe to Unknown Options. I'm gonna drop Dr. Taylor's all her socials and everything in the description tag for the video. Y'all have a nice day.